Wyclef, it's great to see you here at Cannes Lions.
Great to see you too.
You've been here before. How has it changed?
Cannes Lion has evolved because Cannes Lion is a trendsetter for where a lot of the tech is going, some of the brand is going, the combination of how artists partners up with brand, with which apps get involved. How do you present a new way to consumers? So usually every time someone wins in Lion, this buzzes the generation forward. So a lot of people come in here. This is where a lot of the big money guys come to also. A lot of companies come to see what's next and how they can sell their brands.
So what is next for us?
Well, I think, you know what, it's a good question because as a judge, what I was seeing was a few things. I think in the healthcare space, there's a lot of new development where there are apps now that are basically focused on certain areas. One area is Parkinson. There's music apps now for Parkinson's which help people remember songs. There's also apps where you're driving. It helps you to, if you're speeding up, to say really you have to slow down. I was impressed by the human factor of the apps. Also, some of the bigger brands, the social responsibilities that they are pushing forward to take and the issues that they are taking on, I find incredible.
Of course, you became a global star with the Fugees. You've had huge success with your solo albums. What has the journey been like for you throughout all these changes with tech?
I mean, it's insane, right? Because my daughter is a streaming generation.
Yeah.
So data is important, right? Because everyone looks at it to see if it's working. So right now, if you go online, I have a record called Hendrix, Wyclef Hendrix. It's streaming 30 million, right? So think about that. So back in the days, what would that be? 30 million singles, right? Yes. Which is now, where's the piece of vinyl? It has converted into something else. But it's amazing. But let me tell you, the part of it which I love most is, even starting out with the Fugees, the art and being artistic, whether if it's the passion for tech, for social issues, for music, you are in a new world now where everything that people used to say is impossible now is totally possible. So it's a great place. People's like, where are we at with the state of music? I think we're in a great place. I remember when I was on Sony, I wanted to put a rap record out, a country record out, and a rock record out all at the same time. It was like, yo, you can't do it. Now, you can do exactly what you want.
But you were talking about streaming before, but of course you've got rival companies. You've got Spotify, you've got Tidal. All of that, does that help the industry or can it have negative effects?
No, I think the more the better, because what happens is the more is then the competition, the less you have, it's not good for competition. The more you have, the better. With all of the streaming services, the key is to always constantly to make sure that the artists that's on the other side are getting paid fairly with their streaming. And as you can see, services are definitely starting to hold that more accountable with the streaming. Once again, any revenue, because I understand it from the side of what it was like when we were starting out. So let me go on the other side as a struggling artist trying to come out. So every stream counts for these kids. So you just have to make sure that if they're on your platform, that they're actually getting their just dues for it. But I think that, once again, it's a great space because competition is better when it's more.
But can the artists suffer, though, because they have to get on these platforms?
I said in the time when the Fugees was coming out, so many record companies passed on us. And the reason why that was because there had to be an A&R, and the A&R had to decide whether you was good or not. Now, it's different. I feel like it's easier now because basically you have platforms where, okay, if you don't get on Spotify, you can get on SoundCloud. You don't get on SoundCloud, you can put your music out on iTunes. You don't get on iTunes, you can get on TuneCore. You don't get on TuneCore, I could keep going. There's like so many different platforms for you to build an audience, right? So the whole thing now is the responsibility becomes different because you have to be a little more tech savvy and understand what is it that you're going to sell to your audience.
But there are also challenges with the streaming. Jay-Z had Tidal, that wasn't going so well for a while. Do you feel that that's improved?
I think that with anything that you start, you're going to have humps, you're going to have curves if you're not the first person to do it. But I think that all of it is starting to adjust, you know? And I think eventually it all will balance out because, like I said, the more the merrier with the competition.
I mean, Taylor Swift was another one, wasn't she? She left Spotify and then she went back to it. Do you think she had to?
I think that it's important that artists' voice are heard when they feel like they have to make a statement, because at the bottom line, you know, artists that speak in behalf of other artists, the bottom line is what's fair for Taylor Swift has to be fair for some kid coming from Mississippi who doesn't know this platform. And if Taylor don't do what she does, then it doesn't make it good for that little kid that's coming in Mississippi, right? So at the end of the day, if they make it right, she makes it right, right? So I think that streaming is not going nowhere. I could tell you that, you know, it's my daughter's platform. She's 12 years old. The idea of discovery through surfing, through the entire internet is not going nowhere. So we have to basically find out how we, once again, copyrights are protected, publishing is protected, right? And at the same time, it is good for artists because young artists now has a platform where you can put your music out and you can get a small touring revenue. You actually can start moving on the road through this platform.
A lot of artists that started, you know, in the same era as you, Wyclef, feel, but we put so much energy, so much into recording them, and then they end up on these platforms and you download them. It's a very different experience, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's definitely a totally different experience. I mean, the way that I explain it is evolution, right? Adjustment will always happen or we would be bored. But creativity and art, no matter what the debate is, the best creativity and the art, you will always win. So it's like at the end of the day, I'm from the 90s, 1996. So if you go on Spotify and you're like, man, how could Wyclef be streaming 30 million, right? I'm not sitting back saying, oh man, how come nobody not buying my vinyls no more? No, it's like you have to read the new book, you have to adjust, you have to say, okay, my fans are out there, how am I gonna keep getting the music to them? Very important.
But do you think business can interfere with creativity?
All the time. I mean, business does interfere with creativity. The hardest thing to do is to try to be a good businessman and a good artist, right? So now I'm trying to be a better businessman, you know? But that's great because my creativity is based on my art. Then you got different rappers who are better businessmen and the art is totally different, you know what I mean? But for me, once again, it's a balance. It's the yin and the yang of, I think in this generation though, I see younger kids who have straight up social entrepreneur spirits right from the gate. And they fully understand their power, they understand their brand, and that's how we're moving into the future.
So talking about the future, where are we going to go with it? Because you've got things, you've got AI, you've got AR, you've got all these technologies coming that might take away live experience. What happens if people don't go to concerts anymore?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. Once again, anybody who's watching this understands the concert experience. We're not gonna stop going to concerts. It pushes the game forward. What it does is now, as an artist, right, it boils back to your art. So if something is going on VR, what can you do that is not on VR, right? So you could do the VR, so we'll do the VR, give you the VR experience, but past the VR, what can Wyclef do that the VR can't do?
Exactly, otherwise.
The human factor, the human emotion, nothing beats that. So when your fans really connect with you, the human factor, and want to see you and touch you and feel you, they're going to find you.
You went into politics as well in Haiti, but is that something that you would like to go back to? Is that something you're thinking about?
I felt like the part that I needed to do, I did, which was break the cycle. So I felt like in order for our country to move forward, we was going through a cycle where it was an older regime, and it just felt like that older regime could not work another 35 years. It just felt like we had a generation where it was youth. It was like under 25. So for me, the idea of running at the time was 250,000 people going under the rubble, and I felt that I would have been the best negotiator at the time for my country. And it looked, I know for a lot of people looked out of the blue, they said, whoa, a rapper's running for president. But behind the scenes,
well, we have
but behind the scenes, what they did not show is the idea of, you know, me going to Congress, you know, helping pass the Hope bill in my country, was textile bill at the time when my country was unstable. I'm the one that went in, negotiated for the UN and the gangs back in Washington. So I've always been, you know, active in the Farmers Union, helping bring seed, fertilizer, aggregation. So these are the things that the cameras are not on. But as we move towards the future, I feel like we have a younger government. So once we have a younger government in place, my job now can be, as Wyclef, you know, to work on strengthening private sector. So I look forward where, you know, the parliament could work on better trade policies, make it easier for people to come into Haiti to do business, anti-corruption laws, things like that. So now I feel that I can garner, I mean, I'm in Cannes, like most, like what, 50% of my friends have over $1 billion, right? So it's more like, okay, where do they do business around the world? Usually they do business around the world where, you know, the trading is fair, anti-corruption law, it's different things. So in that sense, I feel like I can help my country and help work towards that.
And what about the US, Wyclef? Would you feel like you'd want to get more involved?
I'm very careful because I go past rhetoric, right? Because what I always like to do is focus on policies, you know. The idea of the refugee ban, and even if they didn't call it a ban, I was strongly against that because parents coming here, my parents came here, they ain't break no law. They were honest citizens, and so many here are honest citizens. I believe that the Constitution, you know, these United States of America, meaning all of us, being a city of immigrants, I do believe that we should move forward. It's very important. I believe we should really focus on the health care, not the distraction of it, but where we really, really are going to be able to come up with millions of Americans. I believe like what happens is the more bickering we do, both sides suffer. So at the end of the day, all of the bickering, the left, the right, everybody is, it's almost like who has the best debate of the week. But meanwhile, we have to get back to a situation where we have jobs for the American people. One of the things that I did remind the Trump administration is the TPS, which is when President Trump was campaigning in Little Haiti and said that he would help. We, as you know, Haitians in Haiti, the Haitian government can't take 50,000 Haitians back. So I know that the law got extended for 6 months or whatever, but for me, you know, this is very, very important. One of the things to me is, I mean, I heard Ben Carson speaking about the inner cities, and this was something that I was so keen on and focused on, the idea of what are we gonna do within the inner cities and these rural communities. I heard of programs starting out in Detroit, different things. It seems like all of this has gone silent. And if not, maybe I'm mistaken, but I would like to see more of that coming.
And just finally, is there any hope of the Fugees getting back together at some point?
I say never say never. I love that superstar group. I look forward towards it, but I'm very excited about my new album, The Carnival 3, slated to come out in September, and the Carnival Tour. Jimmy, you had the Jimi Hendrix experience, you're gonna have the Wyclef experience. Look forward to that. And whenever the Fugees are ready, 1 time, 2 time, I'm ready.
Wyclef Jean, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Still watching? Perfect. Click here to watch another great video from CNBC International. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.